Hello, your favorite MPL player Arno Schmidt here with another set review. This time of the green cards, the top cards in green. Focus is on Standard, Alchemy, and Historic, the arena formats. Green was a little bit of a weaker color. I had a little bit more of a struggle to assemble something here. But I think my predictions are good, and yeah, I'm excited to see how they pan out in the end. Let's dive in with the cards that didn't quite make the cut. Let's go. Up first, Kura the Boundless Sky, 5 mana 4/4 flying Death Touch Dragon. When it dies, you can either search up free lands, or you get an XX Spirit token, which is as big as the number of lands you control. This one is playable, of course, like all the others. It's a powerful card. Again, depending on the metagame. The 5-drop slot with Ren and 7 is already like, oof, it's tough to break through Ren and 7, you know? So I'm not quite sure how much I love this card or how much play it's going to see. I think it's going to be very rare. It is unique though, because you usually do not get flyers in green. Kodama of the Westry is another mythic, ending the Kodama cycle. Reach, modified creatures you control have trample, and whenever a modified creature you control these commentators you play, search your life for a basic land card. Interesting. So it's a 3 mana 3/3 with reach, and when your modified cards hit the player, you get a basic land. It wants to be in an aggressive deck, of course, with all the equipment auras and so on. It wants to be in a deck with 1/1 counters, but in a deck with those cards, you don't want to have an effect necessarily like search for a basic land. You rather like pump your team up more, you know, give yourself some extra pimp on the board state. For just being a free for free, it's just not exciting at all. It doesn't have haste. I don't really see this card shining. Yeah, I think it's bad. March of Burgeoning Life. Instant speed, you can choose a creature, so you don't have to target with mana value X less than X. Search your life for a creature card with the same name as that creature, put it on the battlefield tab. So this is tough. You pay basically at instant speed. Let's say you have a Kodama of the Westry on the board, then you have to pay 5 mana in total, 4 mana and a green, to get another copy of Kodama onto the battlefield tapped at instant speed. Okay. If you start reducing the cost of the spell by exiling green, I guess at that point you're gonna get cheaper. But honestly, if you exile one card, it's still gonna be 3 mana for another Kodama of the Westry. I mean, you obviously don't want to get a legendary creature with this, but you get what I'm saying. It's 2 mana intensive. You need to have something on the board already. It only searches that up. This card just seems bad. Yeah. Next slide. Here we have an interesting card. I'm not quite sure if it's gonna see play, but it is unique in a way. Careful Cultivation. I think the top part will be a little less relevant, but the bottom channel ability is kind of cool. So for 2 mana, at instant speed, uncounterable, we get a 1/1 that makes a mana. It's a human too, so human synergies, if you have any humans going on, Catilda and so on. It's a token, so it's vulnerable to bounce, but it's an instant speed, 2 mana dog, with being no Javai Disruption, you know, you can't Javai Disruption this thing on turn 2. So this card could see play. I'm a little skeptical, but it's still not that good, you know, for 2 mana, 1/1, not great. But it has something going for it. So here we have a cheap legend in Shigeki Yukai Visionary, 2 mana 1/3, and for 2 mana tap it, return it to your hand. Well, that's kind of clunky. Reveal the top 4 card of your library, and you put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest into your graveyard. Alright, so some graveyard synergies going on there. And ramp in 1 card. And then a channel ability, so we get some flexibility here. XX, green, discard Shigeki. Return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to hand. Okay, it returns any spell, anything like that, but no legendaries. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to return legendaries, but hey, that's the restriction here. Yes, we get some flexibility here, but I don't like any of these sides. The channel ability is incredibly clunky. You could maybe convince me that like in some sort of very slowish mid-range deck, maybe black-green Golgari Planeswalkers. No, actually not. No, because most of the things you want to get back are legendaries. The Planeswalkers are all legendary. No, I don't know. The channel ability is just way too clunky. Then the 2-mana 1-free investment, it has to survive, and then you activate it and you get lands going. It just seems incredibly slow and clunky. This card, I don't know, they could have made it a little better to make it playable. And then you get some cards in the graveyard, but that doesn't make up for the fact that you could just theoretically just completely miss. You could just hit 4 spells on the top 4 and then you won't get anything. So this is not a good card. Tamio's Safekeeping. 1 mana, target permanent, any permanent, you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, you gain 2 life. So this card is... I think it could replace Snakeskin Veil. I can tell you definitely that I was thinking about putting this in the top 5. This card has things going for it. It can win you a combat, it could protect any type of permanent, a planeswalker, or an enchantment, or a land, whatever you want to protect. You got it. Snakeskin Veil only works on creatures. Snakeskin Veil pumps the creature up. So that's nice against a controlling deck where you then get an extra damage after they use their removal. But Safekeeping also protects against sweeper effects in Historic, for example. The Wrath of Gods, Anger of the Gods of the World. And Tamio's Safekeeping, we already have in Historic Heroic Intervention, which is 2 mana, give protection and hexproof to everything, indestructible and hexproof to every permanent you have. Now, on average, that card's probably going to see it's close. Like, a 1 mana spell is certainly appealing compared to a 2 mana one. It's much, much easier when you're deploying onto the board to keep up 1 mana. So this could definitely see play, especially when Kaldheim rotates and we don't have access to Snakeskin Veil anymore. On number 5, this time, for the first time and the only time, we'll get the quadruple spell into the top 5 cards. Reason being for this card to be in the top 5, it makes 2 4/5 creatures, so it's alone in that. It is 8 power and 10 toughness for 5 mana on 2 bodies. That is pretty good. You can give choice of Vigilance counter, a Reach counter, and a Trample. Reach is pretty important against all the dragons running around, so I absolutely love that. Trample can be good if you're aggressive, Vigilance if you're like in a racing situation. So those 3 are great abilities. And yeah, this card, especially also with Ezika's Chariot, can then copy the 4/5s. That's good. This card could definitely see play in the mono green builds as a top end card. I think it is, depending on the matchup, but I think on average it is better than Renin 7. And Renin 7 is a powerful card in those decks. So yeah, especially Ezika's Chariot just got another friend here. And yeah, the mana cost is obviously making this tough to cast outside of a mono green deck. But hey, a mono green is a deck. Mono green has great support. Old Growth Troll, Werewolf, what is it called? The Pack Leader, the 2 mana free. It's still good, right? So I think this is gonna slide right in. Number 4, an enchantment payoff. Of course, this won't be good in any deck, but an enchantment deck. But hey, I think it's a quite nice payoff. You have a 2 mana 2/2 Trampler that grows with a 1/1 counter whenever you play an enchantment spell. So it counts as a modified creature, which is a minor upside. And Trample is nice on a growing creature. This thing can just absolutely destroy someone. If you play it on turn 2, just play enchantment spells for the rest of the game. This can just go crazy. At the beginning of each end step, if an enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return Kami of Transfer from your graveyard to your hand. So whenever any enchantment dies and you have this in your graveyard, you can recur this back into your hand. That is some extra recursion, makes it better against destruction effects, making exiling even more important. Vanishing Verse smiles at us while I'm talking. This card is pretty strong for an enchantment deck, and yeah, I'm excited about it. Here we have another enchantment payoff, an enchantment itself. 2 mana 2/2 other enchantment creatures you control get 1/1. And on top of all that, we get 1 mana tap it, copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an enchantment source. What does that mean? That means triggered abilities. That means chapters from sagas triggering. You can copy them and get another effect of that. You can copy something like Borrowed Time. which would then mean that Borrowed Time would exile 2 permanents at the same time. I mean, this endless options with Weaver of Harmony. You have Hallowed Haunting would be another one. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell with Hallowed Haunting, you get a spirit token. You can just, for 1 mana, for just cheap 1 mana, you just get another one for tapping this. I mean, this card is very good, and on top of all that, it is a payoff and an enchantment itself. So that makes it extra nice. Here on rank number 2, Yugan Defends the Temple. We have an amazing card in terms of value, deservingly a mythic. Very, very good mid-range card. I could see this in an enchantment deck, in any type of deck. First chapter, we get a 1/1 Monk. Okay, not that amazing, but hey, that's worth 2 mana in channel, as we saw in the other card. So that's already 2 mana worth, sort of. Then second chapter, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 targets. So that helps with modify, and pumps up the 1/1, pumps up another creature. Good stuff. 3, you get a 2/2 flyer, another flyer in green. Remnant of the Rising Star. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X 1/1 counters on that creature. So any extra mana you have, especially in the later stages of the game, you can just pump into this ability and make any creature that you have coming into play into a huge threat. And then if you have 5 or more modified creatures, this 2/2 flyer becomes a 7/7 trampler. Holy moly, this is a lot of text on one card. So much stuff going on. I think all that combined, the 1/1 Monk you get at the beginning, the extra 2 counters, and then the flyer with the powerful ability will make this card see play. And in Standard and Alchemy, I think this is just a very, very good card. And yeah, I don't want to play it against it unlimited, that's for sure too. And on number 1, we have Generous Visitor. Another enchantment payoff. Green in this format really goes deep on the enchantments. And here we have Generous Visitor, a 1 mana 1/1 with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Wow. This is pretty insane for a 1-drop. And I couldn't quite believe it when I first read it. This kind of reminds me of cards like Champion of the Parish, or Champion of the Perished, the zombie one, or the human one, Champion of the Parish, which grew whenever you play zombie or human. This is kind of similar in that sense, but it not only grows itself, it can also put the counters on different things. For example, if you play Spirited Companion, the 2 mana 1/1 that draws a card, Enchantment Dog, you can just pump that up, you can put the counters around wherever you want. But all in all, if you play this on turn 1 and then you just curve out with enchantments, I mean, it's just so much value. It's like a Luminac Aspirin. It is a punch. It punches hard. It grows hugely. It's just amazing. This makes me excited. All the cards that I saw so far makes me excited about enchantments in Standard and Alchemy. This could perhaps even be a thing in Historic. Maybe. It is just incredibly good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this insane card play out. I wanted to say nutty card because the funny thing is, it also has some nuts in the picture, so that actually works. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this episode of this set review, and thanks for watching. Check me out on Twitch, and until next time, if you liked it, give me a follow, leave me a like. I appreciate you. Bye bye.